My name is Jocelyn Bernal. I was born in Manila in 1968, but in a short span of 6 months, I moved to Jakarta, Indonesia, where I spent 13 years of my life. I went back to the Philippines for 5 short years before heading to New York in 1986. I was almost 18 when I came here. And the reason we came here as a family is I lost my father 2 years before, and my mother looked at other opportunities to raise 3 very young children under the age of 18. And what other opportunities were available then was to join the rest of her family who started moving and immigrating here to the United States. So my grandmother got us as immigrants, and we arrived on a sunny day on May 17th, 1986, I remember vividly. And with anticipation of starting a new life also came a lot of challenges. My mother came with 3 young kids. There are my 2 sisters and I. We had to first live in the basement of my uncle's small apartment until we finally were asked to get our own place, reality number 1. And reality number 2 was, all of a sudden, we had to do things on our own. Can you imagine living a life in the Philippines where you had maids and drivers and cooks and people to watch after your every need, and today having to do everything yourself? I had to learn how to make my own sandwiches. I had to learn how to go to the grocery and actually buy food for the first time in my life. And I had to learn how to drive because, you know, the folks at home also needed to get around. So I became an all-around daughter, do-it girl, and had to just learn how to make a difference in my own little way and forget about the past life, because the new reality was life in America was very different. I work as a budget manager for a media placement company. My company takes clients and takes their commercials and places it on TV, radio, billboards, magazines, whatever that we need to do to reach the target market of our customers, our clients is what we call them. So I deal with numbers all day. I can see how much a client can bring into us and how much money we make off of a client. And it's been very difficult with the current environment of people. We have to lay off people if we don't make our profit targets. So it's one aspect where that's the reality of life today, and we have to just keep cognizant that, you know, money does talk in this day, not just in our personal lives, but in our professional careers as well. And if a company can't bring in the money to make the bottom line, then the impact is cutting costs and cutting people. So that's my daily reality for today. I wouldn't say that it was directly discrimination, but I'm sure that there were occasions when either looking for a job as I was starting out, and I first joined an accounting firm when I completed college. And of course, there were certain plum assignments that were given out to the first year staff. And when you see that some people got the big, you know, assignments to audit a hotel, an airline company, and I got stuck with a restaurant out in the middle of Connecticut. I don't even remember where. So I think that kind of told me either they only hired me because I was their statistic, Asian number 1, and female number 2. But in terms of how did they discriminate, perhaps maybe not seeing that I was good enough to work on a big name client. So maybe from my point of view, that could have been construed as discrimination. I didn't see it that way, but I think it probably was. I think I can credit a strong family support system. My mother was a single woman who raised 3 children, and we turned out to be pretty okay. She also knew how to have a strong hand to be both mother and father. Through difficulties, we've also learned to see through her eyes how it is to survive. And our family system, from a family of 2 aunts and uncles who were here, my mother's entire clan is now here. We have her 8 siblings here with all their families, and now the next generation of grandchildren have been born in the States. So that's been a very strong influence in me. On the other side of it, I also wanted to find out, how can I make a name for myself? My sisters we're all accountants, but I'm the one who didn't want to be. My goal, my dream was to be on TV. I wanted to be a newscaster. But my mother said, your father didn't leave that much money. You have to find a job that will pay a reasonable income. And that's how I became an accountant. But deep in my heart, I think I was meant to do other things. And that's when, within the early part of my professional career, I said, what else is there? And I started looking for organizations. Somewhere where I can be an active contributor, and somewhere where I can feel like my contributions meant something. So that's when I started being active with alumni organizations at school, and maybe some community events. And slowly I rediscovered some young people like me who were brought together with the same reason, to be better, to become better individuals, and also to return back to the community what they know. And I think that became the impetus to seek organization that met that goal. And that leads me to the Junior Chamber. That by far is the most important organization outside of work that has contributed to my personal well-being and my contribution to society as a whole. I've been part of this group for over 17 years. This is my last year. They have an age limit, and no, it's not age discrimination, but it sparks for you to bring what you've learned to other aspects, either your local communities or other organizations. So after 17 years, people say, how can you stick around that long? It's because I value what it's given to me. I value what I'm able to contribute. And I also recognize the importance that I've provided to the young generation of leaders. Junior Chamber is an organization. It's a worldwide leadership organization. From over 125 countries and over 200,000 Junior Chamber members, or JCs as we call them. That's the group that I most am identified with. So can you imagine through its ups and downs, we learn how to manage an organization, how to manage a budget, how to turn an idea from just an idea to a reality. Things that I could never do at work. I've also learned how to manage people, how to manage difficult people. And I think that's very key in knowing how to be part of a difficult society and how to make your own and actually stand out. So the Junior Chamber has become a backbone of who I am today. And it also allows me to then move forward to other organizations today. I'm wearing this really beautiful Filipina outfit, and I think for the past 10 years, every single year, in the middle of June, like June 12, around that time, we have the Philippine Independence Day celebration. I've always been part of the organizing committee. And I love standing in the grandstand and seeing everybody pass by because we're showing our Filipino pride. So I think that's kind of key to also know that even in an adoptive country, which I now call my own because I am an American now, I still hold being Filipino a very important part of my personality. I think it's very important that those people who've made a life here and made a name for themselves to become role models. Everybody is always seeking for somebody to look up to and to follow so that when they look to the future, they have a point of view and a point of reference. I'd like to think of myself as a role model in my own small way. My organization and the people around me know that I value very much Filipino customs and traditions, the custom of, strong family values, and also presenting yourself in the best possible light. Anytime, for example, Philippine Independence Day, that's the only one day to showcase who we are, our culture, our customs, our beautiful costumes, and our music. But there are other occasions throughout the year when that's possible. So I think it's very key to do that. When young Filipinos move here for the first time, they want to fit in just like I did. And I think it's very important to be able to be available to them, to speak to them. And I'm lucky, I'm fortunate that I'm also bilingual. I can speak the Filipino language, Tagalog. So when I meet a new immigrant for the first time, I try to engage in a conversation and ask them who they are, what they'd like to see in the future, and also engage them in their own language, in the Tagalog language. It makes them feel more at ease. And once you're able to establish a certain rapport with somebody, then just being open to say, I'm here if you ever need to talk to somebody of your own peer group, I think that's key to making their transition easier. Just like myself, I look up to some of the women who are big names in the community, Filipinas who we've known around the communities. Today I'm also a member of another organization, the National Association of Filipino American Associations, or NAFA for short. This is a nationwide organization for Filipinos, and the role model I look to there is Loida Nicolas Lewis. She's the chairman emeritus of the national organization. Why do I look to her? She's successful. She married a black man, Mr. Reginald Lewis, and when he died, she took over his company. She has managed to raise two beautiful kids and managed to still be a name for herself and also giving back to the community. I look to her as somebody that I'd like to be in the near future. Maybe not in the grandest scale as she was, but in my own small way to be able to manage family, be able to also tell people around me, Americans, that I'm a Filipino, but I'm just as good as anybody, just like you or me. So I look to her, and I hope that, between her and other role models I've looked at, the Consul General, Cecile Rebon, I also see her as a role model. She represents the Philippine government, but every time she comes forward, she shows us the face, not only the government's face, but also a woman's face, the one who cares about the community she serves, and yet she lives up to the highest standards of what she believes in. I look to that quality as very important. So I take all those good points in from these people that I've seen, and I try to embody that to myself. Certainly, it's not always easy. I always have to struggle between who I am right now and who I'd like to be. But I think having a role model gives you an opportunity to look forward and to improve yourself. And thereby, maybe I can do the same for the people who come to seek my assistance or my knowledge or my friendship, and sharing that way and moving it through generations to come. Today I'm very grateful to have been honored as one of the Filipino Mentors of the Year. I mean, for the 100 influential women. Who would have thought years ago that there would be such an opportunity to recognize women from all walks of life, from all backgrounds, and yet all of us who do special things. I received this award in the category of behind the scenes, for I truly am behind the scenes. Who would have thought also that before I'd be so shy. I want to do my own things, but I would never want to be in the forefront. I think today it's important that when you've received a certain accolade, when you've received certain recognition, what you do, you should not stop, because you've been pinpointed as someone that people will look forward to, that will be a role model for other generations. And so it is now a responsibility for you. Take this knowledge, take this, what you've known, and bring it forward. Share it with more people. Don't stop, because there's still a message to share to everybody. Filipinos everywhere need to also know that when America becomes your home, not only are you American, you're Filipino American.